we need to get through the meeting so we can get to other things we have going on. If the secretary would call the roll.
Senator Carpenter, Senator Givens, Senator Howe, Senator Parrott, Senator Thayer, Senator Webb, Senator West, Senator Westerfield.
Here, Chairman, I just want to commend your excellent staff on the great work they do to prepare for this committee every week. Thank you, Chairman.
I heard a little sarcasm in his voice there.
No sarcasm.
Senator Wise, Senator Caslin, and Chairman Hornback.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, and the floor leader said that those comments were out of line during a roll call, but I think they're very well appropriated to the people that duly deserve them, because I do have excellent staff. Thank you. We're going to go out of order on the bills today because I know a lot of members got a lot of other meetings got to get to, and I'm not trying to favor one over the other, but we are going to hear House Bill 518 first. If Chairman Heath, I think you've got some other guests with you coming to the table. If you all would introduce yourselves. We will, keeping things short is going to be the ones that win the most here today, so just keep that in mind with your testimony.
Representative Richard Heath, District 2.
Representative Brandon Reed, District 24.
Steve Kelly, contract lobbyist.
You can proceed.
Thank you. House Bill 518 makes needed changes to how the Kentucky Fair Board operates, reduces the micromanagement from the executive branch, allows the State Fair Board to establish its own procurement framework, realigns the appointments of the board, 3 for the governor, 4 for the commissioner of agriculture. It adds the president of the Senate or his designee as a non-voting member, Speaker of the House or his designee as a non-voting member, adds the Louisville Convention and Visitors Bureau has a voting member on the board, and requires Senate confirmation according to KRS Chapter 11. Clarifies the intent of the General Assembly that the board is to be governed on an independent corporate, or the board is to govern in an independent corporate structure without undue interference from any department of the agency. Reestablishes the ability of the board to elect its chair and vice chair from its members. Clarifies that the board will hire a president and CEO and other such employees as it deems necessary. Section 6, 7, and 8 is some housekeeping stuff that clarifies that the authority of the board to establish regulations for the proper and orderly operation of the properties under its custody and control. Section 9 clarifies the ability of the board to receive revenue from government entities, private persons, or foundation, which mirrors the Kentucky Center for the Arts, and Section 10 declares an emergency.
Do you have somebody else to testify?
I guess they're here to help me answer questions.
Okay.
Well, I will say, Mr.
Steve
Chairman,
Kelly.
if you don't mind, first of all, it's great to be back in front of Ag Committee. For most of you who's been around a while, I've spent a lot of time at this table in different departments, both the Department of Ag as well as the Expo Center where I retired from. I had people reach out to me and ask me to work on this bill just because of my history and having the opportunity to work in both places. And I guess we need to make some clarifications. I think I have, since this bill passed the House, had some folks reach out to me and ask, if we could possibly work on some changes, and I told them we could discuss that. There was a little bit of confusion on who makes those appointments and how they're made. Some of these appointments are structured to represent entities, which currently today the governor appoints those. Going forward on those ag positions, the commissioner would appoint. It also takes some of those at-large appointments from the governor and gives to the commissioner. There's other concerns that have been brought up that we can talk about going forward, but honestly I think the bill itself is a great bill as far as we have a board in place and a CEO of a facility on contract with the state, and this bill very much gives them the opportunity to run that facility. So with that, I'll stop and help answer any questions.
We have a motion on the bill. Have a motion for Senator Thayer to have a second on the bill.
No, someone has to say it.
Yes, Senator Thayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand your need for alacrity here, but I do want to comment that when it comes to the powers of the various officers of the executive branch, if the powers are not enumerated in the Constitution, the General Assembly has the right to change those. So I fully support this bill and move that it be reported favorably. Motion same shall pass.
Do I have a second? Got a motion from Senator Thayer. I've got a second from Jason Howe. I do have a couple of comments to make. This is something that I've worked on before, and something very important to this Commonwealth. You know, in looking at it this summer, and Brandon, I know you've been very close to it. Steve, you certainly have. But the thing some members ought to realize is that one thing that I thought really stuck out was 67% of the hotel stays in Jefferson County are attributed to either the Kentucky Convention Center or the Kick Center, and that's huge. That's why I understand that you all put the Louisville tourism on the board, that they are a very integral part of it, and I just want to commend all of you all. I think you've done a great job of structuring an agency so that they can move forward. So there is consistency among administrations with the no reorg and some of those things. So I appreciate what you all have done. Any other comments or questions? If not, Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Carpenter, Senator Caslin, Senator Givens, Senator Howe, Senator Parrott, Senator Thayer,
Aye.
Senator Webb, Senator West, Senator Westerfield, Senator Wise,
Aye.
and Chairman Hornback.
Aye.
Motion passes.
What was the number?
9 yeses.
Motion passes 9-0. Do you have a motion for consent? So moved. Motion for consent. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor of consent signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The bill will be on consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
you, Mr.
members of the
Chairman.
Ag Committee.
Thank you all. Our next bill today will be House Bill 236. And Sean McPherson, if you would like to come up, Sean. You'd introduce yourself and your guest, and you may proceed with your testimony.
Morning. Thank you, Chairman. My name's Sean McPherson. I represent the 22nd District.
Richard Heath, representing District 2.
I think I've got one on Zoom if they want to introduce themselves.
Okay, I think you got two on Zoom.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm Harlan Hatter. I'm the Deputy Executive Director with the Department of Agriculture in the Office of Consumer and Environmental Protection.
Good to see you,
My name is
Harlan.
Joe Bilby. I'm General Counsel for the department.
Okay, you may proceed.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Board, for hearing this. The Commissioner of Agriculture, about 5 years ago, was charged with reviewing all the regulatory agencies that he oversees. As far as this bill, the EPA has asked them to review these and get all of them up to standards. This bill also is self-sufficient and tries to be self-sufficient in fees. However, the fees have been not changed since the late 80s, early 90s. Currently, it supplies about 7% of what it actually cost. These fee changes are kind of large in percentage, but they go from like $5 to $25, from $50 up to $100. And as far as administrating these, a $5 fee in today's world won't hardly get the paperwork done. So even though it's a large percentage, it's not a huge fee increase. Currently, like I said, it supplies 7%. With these fee changes, it'll supply 27%. Now, the EPA does kick in and pay part of theirs. I asked the question, and received the answer of approximately 65% that the EPA kicks in. So this will make this about 92% of carrying its own weight. But I would ask for any questions.
Motion on the bill.
Got a motion on the bill. Do I have a second? Have a second. Motion is made by Senator Thayer and seconded by Senator West. Questions on the bill? Senator Givens?
Representative McPherson, great to see you, friend.
Thanks, sir.
Glad to have you here with a piece of legislation that we certainly do need to be paying attention to. And Harlan and Joe on the call, my question may be directed to the two of you, and I can't find it in this moment in looking through the legislation, but from a prior read as I was studying the bill, there is substantial change here, all of the change with which I agree, but I want to make sure that what we're doing is something that that we intend to do. There's a section in the language, if I recall correctly, that says small homeowner applications of pesticides that may rise to the level of a complaint, KDA no longer has to field that complaint. Will you direct me to where that is in the legislation, or am I thinking of a different conversation?
Senator, let me take a second here. I think that is, well, there's two sections that talk about a homeowner. The first one was on page, let's see. It's early in the bill, and that's the one that gives an exemption for homeowners to use like non-restricted products on their own property and in their own home. There was a, let's see, that's on page 16 at the bottom. That's the first thing that talks about homeowners. There's an exemption for private applicators, farmers applying non-restricted pesticides. There's an exemption for licensing for homeowners applying pesticides to their own lawns, but we added an exemption for homeowners applying household pest products in their own homes. There was no exemption for a license for that, and so we added that to clear up some confusion. The other section that talks about complaints or pesticide misuse. Yes, that is on page 15, the majority of it, section 9 of the bill, and that lays out a little bit of a cleaner roadmap for us to address claims of pesticide misuse, and it only applies to folks who are required to have a license by this chapter. So that would mean that homeowners were not required to have a license on their own property. They can't go out and charge money and actually get into the business of applying pesticides under this chapter without obtaining a license. I don't know if that answered your question, but those are the two spots that I think you're probably talking about. They're on page 15 and 16.
Good. Yes, that was what I needed to see, and I have no questions after rereading it. I think it does achieve the intent. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Castlin.
This would be a question, I guess, probably directed at Joe on the Zoom call. So, and just to make sure I understood this correctly, so some of the new regulatory requirements that are in this bill were asked upon you all from the federal EPA or the state EPA?
For the first time in the history of the legislation, the EPA required all the state agencies, KDA and its counterparts in the other 49, to review the plans that were filed decades ago that showed how Kentucky met all of the minimum federal objectives. Due to an act of the Congress, we had to redo this plan. And so it was in the course of doing that comprehensive review of our existing program and statutes We identified some places where the statutes didn't adequately describe the program as it exists today. And so that was kind of the prompt for the exercise that generated this bill. I don't think, though, that that the existing legislation is out of compliance with what federal law requires. And Harlan may correct me on that, but this certainly does modernize the statutes and create a more accurate reflection of the program we actually run, so that anyone, whether it's the EPA or a taxpayer in Kentucky, could open up the statutes and get a more accurate read on what exactly the program consists of. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Webb.
Thank you, gentlemen. My question is licensure and how our licensure complied with federal law, and are we lessening anything? I see the deletion of some language for certifications and things of that nature, and I'm a former state prosecutor, and we can't, sometimes we are more stringent than you can be, but are we giving up anything or lessening anything in this program, or does our newly developed protocol anticipate any major changes of lessening requirements for licensure?
Let me answer that, Senator. I think the two sections that you're looking at that were deleted, they applied to lawn services and golf courses. And the majority of those two sections in the statute read more like a regulation, because they dealt mainly with the size of lawn markers and the size of the lettering on those signs. And so we felt like that those things didn't really rise to the level of a statute. So we felt like we could manage those by taking them out of the statute and then reenacting them in the regulation, where the majority of our other pesticide regulations deal with those types of topics. That's part of your question. You may have to refresh me on the other part. Oh, let me point this one out. One thing that happened to us last spring is we ran into a situation where social distancing issues did not allow us to enforce a more stringent supervision standard on trainees. And so, because what would happen is that especially the lawn folks last spring pointed out to us that it would be difficult for them to put a supervisor and a trainee in a truck together and have them ride around town all day together. So this federal standard in the federal law for supervision of unlicensed trainees is that it can be done remotely by electronic means, telephone, video chat. As long as the supervisor is readily available, they can use those means to communicate with the trainee. So in that instance, we adopted that standard to get us through the spring season for our lawn folks and other pesticide applicators. The ag folks are subject to that at this point. And what we did was we made those changes so that the definition of direct supervision matches that federal standard now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Parrott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a question on page 11, number 5. The department shall issue non-commercial applicator licenses to qualifying prison inmates and other incarcerated persons who are or will be engaged in the application of pesticides under the direction of the Department of Corrections. Fees for these persons shall be waived by the department. My question is, when these prison inmates are released, does this license stay with them, or would they have to get a different license at that point?
I'll answer that one. Because it describes it as a non-commercial applicator license, those licenses by definition are only tied to applying pesticides on property managed or owned by your employer. So in this instance, they would only be able to, they're only licensed to apply pesticides on Department of Corrections property.
Okay, thank you.
And that would not allow them to go out and work. They would have to come, once they were released, they would have to take the regular examination for a commercial license.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Senator Givens.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Very, very quickly, to the folks from KDA that are on the call, verify for me if I am a farmer and I am applying and using on my farm pesticides that are not restricted use. These are not restricted use products, glyphosate, those sorts of things. Do I have to have a license to apply those? And do the people under me that I employ have to have a license to apply those?
Harlan, you got that?
Yes, I turned from the page. I think that is that's the paragraph above the one I previously mentioned, but I turned the page, so I've got to get back to it. Let's see. Okay, if you'll take a look on page 16 and section 10 of the bill, you'll see subsection 1 of that section is relates to the license, the license and registration requirements for shall not apply to any farmer, owner of ground equipment applying non-restricted use pesticides for himself and his farmer neighbors, as long as he applies it without compensation. So I think that's what you're looking for, Senator.
Senator Givens, the only comment I might make is that there are federal regulations now just to buy non-restricted use pesticides like glyphosate and gramoxone that you now, because I just took my certification last week in order to buy those. Any other questions? If not, we got a motion on the bill. The Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Carpenter, Senator Caslin.
I'd like to explain my vote.
Explain and proceed.
At this time, I'm going to vote no. I'm going to continue to study this, and with utmost respect to the bill sponsors, and as somebody from the ag sector on the commercial and farm side both, I want to kind of just be more comfortable with this, and might change my mind when I get to the floor, but I want to do a little more reading. Thank you.
Senator Givens. Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Parrott. Senator Thayer.
Explain my vote.
Explain.
I'm going to vote yes, but I'd like to note that it's kind of becoming the practice here that we would rather have fees done by regulation rather than put them in statute. We'd rather give the agency the ability to set the fees itself. But I'm still going to vote yes to move the bill forward.
Senator Webb. Senator West. Senator Westerfield. Senator Wise. And Chairman Hornback.
Aye. Motion passes, 7 ayes and 1 nay. Eight to 1, excuse me. 8 to 1.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your board.
Representative McPherson, thank you for being here today. Chairman Heath, thank you. Next bill will be House Bill 229, and we do have a somebody that stepped in, Representative Miles. What?
Representative Cook is on Zoom.
Representative Miles, if you'd like to come to the table. I know Representative Cook is going to be on Zoom, I think. Is that correct?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right.
I would like
Thank you all very much.
Before we get started, I'd like to remind all members there's a local mandate and a corrections impact that are in your folders on this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Miles, for being in person for me down there. It's a big upgrade for Bourbon County, so I appreciate that very much. I like to tell everybody this is a small bill with a big impact. We're simply changing the definition for property as it relates to the purpose of criminal damage to property offenses. We're striking out the word cattle, and we're adding in the word livestock as defined in KRS 150.010. And that sums up the bill.
Senator Thayer.
This is an excellent bill. And I would motion, same shall pass.
Do I have a second? Got 2 or 3 seconds. A motion was made by Senator Thayer, seconded by Senator Webb. Any comments? Any questions? Senator Webb.
I want to commend my House counterpart on this legislation. You know, back in 2017, Senate Bill 139 designated horses, livestock across the board, and I don't know how we left this out, but Matt, we appreciate it, and I think it's very important, very timely, and everybody should take note of this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Representative Miles, would you like to say something since you made the trip down here?
It sounds
Hello?
like things are going well. So thank you, and I'm more than happy to support this bill.
Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Carpenter, Senator Caslin,
Aye.
Senator Givens, Senator Howe,
Aye.
Senator Parrott, Senator Thayer,
Aye.
Senator Webb, Senator West,
Aye.
Senator Westerfield, Senator Wise, and Chairman Hornback.
Aye. 10.
Motion for
Motion
consent.
passes 10-0. Got a motion for consent. Second. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Your bill's on consent. And I'd have to say, Representative Cook, that if you hadn't had Representative Miles here to represent you, that bill probably would not have gone as well.
It's always good to have very good backup.
That's right. Thank you all.
Thank you all very much.
Our next bill on the agenda today is House Bill 307. And Representative Moser, if you'd come on down. If you would introduce yourself and your guest, then you may proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee, for having us today. We're here to discuss another very small change with a big impact. House Bill 307 is simply an update to House Bill 333, which was passed back in 2017. We used the word cannabidiol to allow FDA-approved products, which were cannabidiol products, to be allowed as a prescription. All this does is changes the word cannabidiol to cannabinoid to further expand research. I do have some guests with me today. I will allow them to introduce themselves, and they can tell you about their support for the bill.
Okay.
Rebecca Hartsoe. Oh, sorry. Rebecca Hartsoe. I'm the contract lobbyist for Greenwich Biosciences.
Martin Smith, president of the Kentucky Hemp Farmers Association.
Okay, if you all have anything short to say.
Well, we can talk about cannabinoids as a pharmaceutical, and that this really expands the ability to research and better deliver products to folks who have epilepsy or MS. This is a very important bill to those industries. 307, of course, ensures that Kentuckians with MS or epilepsy are able to get the products that they need, any cannabinoid-based drugs that are FDA approved. And these are only for FDA approved medications. This will amend Kentucky law to further expand the research. And, it's just a simple change, cannabidiol to cannabinoid. And we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Representative Moser. And I might mention to members, they might notice in the folder that they do have a committee sub in there. That sub is not going to be introduced today. Is that correct? You all are working with the ones that drafted that on trying to get that corrected.
That is correct. I had a conversation with Kentucky State Police this morning. They were concerned about certain Delta 9 and Delta 8 tetrahydro cannabinoids, cannabidiols. We probably are able to get to the same protections that they're concerned about by better defining what laboratories are.
Okay, thank you. Any questions by any members? Not? I got a motion on the bill. Do I have a second? Got a motion on the bill from Senator Thayer, a second from Senator Parrott. Any other questions? Anybody willing to speak against the bill? Doesn't look like it. Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Carpenter, Senator Caslin, Senator Givens, Senator Howe.
Aye.
Senator Parrott. Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Webb. Senator West. Senator Westerfield. Senator Wise. And Chairman Hornback.
Aye.
Motion to adopt the title amendment.
Motion passes. The bill passes 10-0. I got a motion on the title amendment. Have a second? Got a motion and a second on title amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And the bill was unanimous. Do I have a motion of consent? Got a motion and a second on consent. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Senator Westerfield, I think you need to record a vote or two.
I do, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. I had to go present a bill next
That's
door. I'd like to be recorded as an aye vote on both House Bill 236 and 518.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Westerfield. Duly noted. Anybody else got anything? If not, we're adjourned.
There you go. Good. I appreciate it.